Welcome, everybody, to my podcast, Surviving Your Journey Toward Success. My name is Nichel Anderson. I'm your host for this particular show here, of course, dealing with the show topic I want to focus on. We are humans, not robotic machines. Some leadership and decision making strategies, as well as motivational strategies for you. Let's go ahead and start this show. All right, so let me begin in this day that I am thankful to the prime creator of all things, that I give thanks for this blessing and opportunity that I will use it for the greater good. So welcome my survivors of the journey to this podcast of mine that I aim to inspire you and motivate you to continue to have joy, peace of mind, and to your sustained success. So let's just go ahead and jump right into it. In this episode, that will be episode 22, show topic, we are humans, not robotic machines. The reason why I felt to discuss this is that I have had discussions. I had discussions with people as well. I have experienced the same thing where you are working in a particular company and the mindset has moved completely towards productivity to the point that you're treated more as a robot instead of a human. Okay, so today we're going to talk about that, have an open discussion. This is primarily mostly for those in leadership and as well as those that are under leadership, to try to talk about the big the big issue that's in the room, and nobody don't really want to talk about or discuss it, and you create disgruntledness from the team. And so I'm here. I'm here to help to motivate you so we can get past that. So let's go ahead and focus on the main points of what I'm talking about with this show topic today. Number one, the main point I want to discuss is that humans need nourishment in any type of relationship, period. If it is not given in balance, then the other person that continues to perform more than they are able to do so in reason suffers in their mental, spiritual, and physical health. That's basically toxicity, plain and simple. So we have to know the difference as leaders between robots that, as far as I know, do not have emotions compared to humans. Okay, their whole existence is intertwined with emotions. Now, even robots require some adjustment of screws over time because of the constant movement in a certain way. Where we need to also think about when we were in a leadership role that humans need it more often. And I would gather to say, I would add as well that it's in a more reassuring. Well, let me just talk about my points about that. What I'm saying is that humans need it more, the nourishment that nourish their emotional need, and that helps their morale, that helps their motivation. But also to be able to do that as leaders, we have to make sure that we are doing one, giving reassurance. Okay, that means of the work that they are able to do. Number two, redefining their value. That means appreciate that they are coming to the job and they are doing what is needed and getting what needs to be done. Of course, every day is not the same. Some days, you're able to achieve a goal and not, but just still redefining their value and not in a disrespectful way or in a way that the goals are set so high. It's just like constant stressful experience for employees to constantly try to meet up to, so they don't feel that they're worth for what they can do. So I hope that point came across on that one. The last one, number three, is feeling appreciated, which you can say kind of intertwined to number two and number one. But feeling appreciated is actually saying it and doing it in the sense that you're communicating to that particular person or the team in a way that you appreciate them and you show that appreciation. No strings attached, meaning that to get this, you got to produce 25% more of what you normally would do. Just give appreciation. That could be something as a giveaway or some type of bonus in a sense of time off. I'm not sure in that sense because you have to make that decision what your company can do, but the small things matter. So that makes people feel appreciated when they are given something, not being expected to get something back. Now, the wisdom point that I want to talk about at this point is that in a business entity, pursuit for the bottom monetary advantage, it can lose its stronghold of the resources used by humans to make it so. Now, what do that mean? What am I trying to say? What I'm trying to say is that just because the business primary goal is to make a monetary advantage in their target industry does not take away the other side of that to be able to balance out how they use humans to be able to produce what needs to be produced to be able to sell to their target market. So you have to look at it as a scale. You're trying to accomplish this, but you also need to manage the other side of that. And to just look at one side and you're just thinking of increasing that number, it becomes the work environment becomes more as an assembly line. Every job is not an assembly line where there's no really, in a sense, too much thought process. It's just keep it moving, keep it moving, keep it moving. And not to say that in some instances that does occur, you know what I mean? But not all the time in every industry. And I have seen that a lot. And I'm just curious to find out why is that so? And then when you take a look at it, it's more on the focus of making those numbers and making that monetary advantage and not really nurturing. And I'm pretty sure on the assembly line, like I said before, we are humans, need a break, need a time that where they're not constantly in a sense of a non-ongoing aggressive way to get a certain outcome in a sense that you can't even take a breath. I mean, that's what I'm talking about today because that shows that the leadership is more focused on one part of the scale and not the other. And leadership have to understand a balance of sympathy, being empathetic, giving validated time off, calculating the metrics that every second a human mind is glued to a computer screen or what have you to get that extra monetary advantage over a competitor can lead to the employees feeling not valued and feeling exhausted and not being motivated. So let's cover some other things. Why is this so? Where people cannot work nonstop. People cannot work nonstop in a sense that there's no time to think it through. There's no time to have a normal process of what that person is doing because they're so busy focusing on one thing and being stressed out to get that number that is being assigned to them to their productivity, which is assigned to everything else of their performance. Now, I'm not saying that a company can't have some type of performance metrics. Of course, how else are you going to stay in business? But I'm talking about the ones that's all they think about. They think about the one side of that scale, and then that something's going on because they have a high turnover, or when they do any type of survey, the employees saying how unhappy that they are. That's a red flag that you're not in balance. Okay, so people cannot work nonstop every second of every hour without any type of break. Robots are programmed and made out of, I don't know, made out of metal or any other non-human compartment to keep it going all the time. Although we know that is not so when we look at how humans function, okay? And possibly due to the point that they need that reinforcement coming back to them. As I mentioned, there's those three things earlier: reassurance, redefining their value. So they need that adjustment as well as you can kind of say, well, with robots, it can go longer without making any type of adjustments. You just have them keep going nonstop without having to intervene, on a regular basis compared to doing that with, people, right? So at any rate, people minds need a period of rest. The need by most professional experts can agree that our minds need to have the proper rest. I'm not saying that you can't have overtime and you can't do this and that, but it needs to be a cycle where it's not constant to the point that the person can't take themselves away from that and enjoy themselves. It's like as you plan for your vacation, you planning for a time for rest, right? You planning for a time to get re-energized, right? Get that needed rest. So our minds are very important. But when it is put in a position that it has to focus non-stop for a whole hour or 2 hours or sometimes the whole day for some people at these companies, your mind is not able to even, take a breather, take a stop. Even when you're driving, you got to at least stop for a moment, give the car a rest before it moves on to the next point of your destination. And the companies that I have been communicating with other people that work there, it's like they don't even consider that the hours that your mind need to be rested and be happy about, you know not at always uptime. You have to be focused 100% all the time, non-stop, every day. And so the companies only focus on productivity when they're not focusing on balancing that other part of that scale for employees to have a happy morale, with the opportunity to learn new things or learn new way, have that space of time that their mind can stop and actually think of a better way. You can't really think too much outside of what you're doing because you're so focused on accomplishing the goal of meeting a certain number. Your mind is constantly wrapping around on one element and not having that free creativity. So who actually are we talking about here that could do something about it? Well, leaders that are only focused on the numbers and not the human aspect, which we get human resources to take care of their overall business objective. Now, for example, the constant need to increase the sales or any type of output or productivity processes that the production is so high there is not time to take a break in thought, right? In thinking proactively in accomplishing the particular job. So you have no time to really relax, to feel comfortable and at ease at your job. It creates a high stressful environment. So the employee is so busy trying to meet a robotic number rather than at the end really serving the customer. Think about how the numbers are so high that the employee is so busy trying to meet a number, trying to hurry up and get off the phone in a certain amount of time, or try to hurry up and process something in a sense that it needs to get a number out. So the quality suffers and the customer suffers because they're paying for a service and they're looking at the particular outcome and it's not what it be. Where mainly because there's no time to double check. You gotta hit a certain number within the time frame and you got to keep it moving to be able to keep position, right? So let's talk about strategy to succeed. Number one, leadership. Leadership. You have to be the prestige leader that balances the needs of the business in the vision mindset that humans need nourishment. And I'm going to step away from this. If anything you take away from what I'm talking about today is humans need nourishment. Your employees need nourishment. Okay, so have you created a PTO plan? Even if the workers are contractors, right? Independent contractors, set up the structure that's basically, in a way that they still feel they are part of the team, if not actually considered an employee. Have you created a bonus or time work plan benefit to give back for those that are constantly nonstop have to produce a productivity output that make you that extra monetary advantage? Have you created a feedback program anonymously that they can give you feedback on how they feel the environment and productivity, the environment and how they feel appreciated or reassured? Even independent contractors should be included in that as well. And so you want to make a commitment to do at least one or two things off that feedback that you got back about your operations. Make sure you make a commitment that you actually implement at least one or two. You do it. So you just need to stop looking at the numbers so much in the sense that These are not employees, these are not humans. We just going to focus on the numbers and just make it in a robotic sense. So you have to stop reading the percentages in a sense that it's out of balance, especially when you have a high turnover and the feedback comes back that the employees are miserable. Okay, that produces negative energy, which we can go into a whole nother session of that at a later time, which I already have if you check my previous podcast episode. And so employees, I want to talk about them. Strategies to succeed. You want to gauge your ability to work that has to meet the metrics to sustain your position in the company. Okay, that's number one, right? But at the same time, always keep a mental balance and emotional intake of your value. Okay, that could entail when off, aim to not think about how hard that job is just to keep it going, right? How stressful it is to keep a certain number. Continue to change your thinking at each start of the shift that you will make it through the best way that you can. And also that you can only do what you can do. So your task to dusk to dawn to wrap up my show today is that for number one, leadership. Identify the shortcomings in your operations that limits real appreciation to your employees. I'm going to give you a tidbit if you in management and you listen to this podcast. No employee really enjoys working to the point that it's like full force, fast forward, non-stop, hour after hour after hour. Now, I know some companies give a 10-minute break and a 15-minute break. That's great. But you want to be able to make that productivity that is realistic, not unrealistic. So you have to also implement that reassurance and appreciation. And it means, do you have a team building program? If you don't, you need to get one. Right? Are you treating your independent contractors and temporary employees, workers, just the same as permanent workers, right? We got to think of a team that includes everybody, that you appreciate them beyond their daily task output. If not, you need to get busy on that. Create something that gives back without any ties coming back to you, right? No strings attached, all right? And review your overall productivity metrics with quality in the mix, because that's what customers really want. If your productivity is so high and you look at your quality feedback from your customers and it's failing, that means you got to readjust that. It's not in balance. So stop focusing on productivity to get through the day and instead work on the areas that the customer require and expects from the service or product that they bought from your company. Right? You got to understand that with the human aspect of workers that get it done, right? You have to give back as well. You have to share in the success of the monetary gain. Lastly, employees, this is your task to dusk to dawn as well. Independent contractors and temporary workers. You have to be diligent in your mental balance that nourishes your value within a business entity that constantly only focuses on the bottom line, that it's impossible to upkeep all the time. You want to aim to focus and think on the positives by writing out a list of things that you are grateful for, even though there is very stressful, right? But you want to continue to write up, an action plan to what you plan to do in the future to change it. And that can mean, you know, participating in some type of feedback or town hall, or even looking to move on in the future, because you can't keep that up because it's very stressful. And I talked about it in the previous show that stress is not good, which you probably already know, but sometimes you don't see the stress. It's like a silent little, element around you. You don't really realize it. So you always want to keep that in balance. It is a great way to create hope in a hopeless environment when you write things out in a sense of your plan to move forward. And you want to avoid the toxicity that stays the same in an environment where they're only looking at one part of that scale, the productivity and what that gets them, and not what you need, which is nourishment. So that just means that just take a look at that, plan ahead, write your list, and again, write a list of what you're thankful for. That always keep you motivated and keep you happy about. Like I said before, you want to be able to identify those things that are nourishing to you, productive for you, and ongoing to leave you on a much happier, joyful experience. So your motivational takeaway: pretty much is that you can only do what you can do. So step away or step back from being stressed at that job and move forward. Thank you. All right. Thank you so much for joining me today in my podcast show, Surviving Your Journey Towards Success. I also want to go over a few things just so we can continue to stay in contact. The first thing is that, just to let you know, I do provide career consultation. It's offering for the first 30 minutes is free. After that, it do adjust depending on your actual need. But if it's an emergency, just go ahead and you can request an initial consultation, which is free, of course. You can contact me by my email, which is info@nichelanderson.com. Now, also, I do have like a 1-800 free numbers if you're calling like outside of the United States, but mainly that is for when I do my free webinars. Okay, so I'm not connected to the webinar call-in number unless I'm doing a free event, and I usually advertise that or promote that, I should say, weeks in advance. So if I'm not promoting that I'm doing a free webinar, then those numbers are not being used. I'm not tied to that. Now, I might consider to have a 1-800 number, but for the most part right now it's just going to be my email address. So if you have any questions or concern, you can definitely go ahead and reach out to me by my email address. Now, I also want to let you know that I do provide business courses and self-improvement courses as well, that overall deals with strategy and of course motivating you so you can keep your joy or get your joy and mental peace that leads you to your success while you're on your journey. Now, those courses are normally available in 1 through mid-late spring of the year, and then again in the fall. I will usually go ahead and post that on the home page of my official website, nichelanderson.com. If you have any questions or trying to figure out exactly how to sign up for the courses, go ahead and drop me an email, info@nichelanderson.com, and I will gladly respond back to you personally to answer any of your questions regarding the courses that you're thinking of signing up for. And those courses again are usually around about 2 or 3 that I will release a year, and again it's doing 2 times a year, the spring and the fall. In the future I might do summer courses that I am releasing as well. And then finally, I just want to do a special call out. I really want to connect with the people that are following me. And to do that, I definitely would love to be able to send out a newsletter. So with that, of course, you have to sign up by providing your email address. So you should see a link in the bottom of this description. Pretty much on every episode, you will find a link to sign up. Now, it will either say, sign up here for Nichel E-List Tips newsletter. You'll click that. It'll take you to a page that is secured for you to go ahead and type in your email address, and then I will get that and see that you are to be included. It will not be spam. I will not hound you with 4 or 5 newsletters every day or other emails sent to you, because pretty much I have a busy schedule and I want to make sure that I'm delivering the quality content that you will be most interested in. Now, also you can visit my website, my official website, Nichel Anderson, and you can click where it says contact and you will see it gives you that option to sign up to my newsletter. And again, that website direct link will be in this description, which is basically nichelanderson.com/sign-up-to-newsletter. But again, I will have all of that in the description. So don't forget to do that. In a sense, just if you want to stay connected with me to get some updates or what have you, new information, special events that I'm doing, and stay connected with me, join my newsletter. I'm really trying to get that to a point that I can be able to quickly update the people that is following me more quicker than my regular releases of my episodes or what have you, my podcast, or any other special projects that I'm doing. Now, also don't forget to subscribe to my podcast here, which is Nichel7.podbean.com. And you can connect with that on iTunes. I am on iTunes. And you can do that right on my podcast homepage here at Podbean or at the Apple Store. I'm also on Google Play and, of course, any other type of directories that you can be able to find. I am learning that people are actually adding this podcast and my other podcast show to the directories as well. All right, so don't forget to follow me on social media. My official website is nichelanderson.com, as I mentioned earlier. Please follow me on Twitter. Now I'm very active on Twitter. Usually I will post new thing, not a lot, but at any rate, I am, drop some motivational quotes. I do that on Twitter, and that Twitter page is twitter.com/Nichel Anderson. I also have a Facebook page that is facebook.com/Nichel Anderson fan page. So also you can find this show notes. My show notes will be listed on the home page here on Podbean. You will see that to the left. You will click that and it will give you future shows that are to be released to give you a heads up of what's coming next. Also, I want to go ahead and let you know that you can purchase my Corporate America book, Surviving Your Journey to Success. It is available on Amazon or any other bookstore that you might be interested in purchasing through. So just to recap and to wrap this up, my podcasts are released every Monday by 10 a.m. Eastern Time. And then guest interviews that when I do have them, I will pre-announce that of who will be the guests, as well as you can apply to be a guest by filling out the guest application form. You will find that on the left side of the menu on my homepage here at Podbean. Okay, you just go to nichelanderson7.podbean.com and you will see a direct link to that guest speaker application. You will fill that out. It normally takes me 48 to 72 hours or less to review that, and then if I see if it's a good fit, then I will respond in that sense. I'll let you know, where we're at in that process. So consider that. If you have any questions, I want to say during my podcast, I also want to encourage you to go ahead and just send me an email, and I can answer that on my next episode. So what have you, and I definitely will respond back that I got it. Okay. So just to kind of recap about my podcast here, how it releases new content every Monday by 10 a.m. Also share with you that my podcasts here now have started offering the ability to get my premium content from my other podcast show, Nichel Anderson Short Stories and Beyond, that patron program where you have access to the full short stories, because I love writing stories. It's one of my favorite things to do, and plus it's coming from my passion and my purpose of writing and motivating through my writing. So at any rate, go ahead and check that out. So how to get to that is basically on the left side of the menu at nichelanderson7.podbean.com. You will see that ability where it says you will see premium content plans, and from there you'll click on that and it will list the different options that you can sign up for. I am providing a few days of a free trial, so you can sign up that way, and you will get the access to the content before you commit to actually subscribe. So it's a great way to get this extra premium content from my other podcast show, all in one little place here at my podcast at Surviving Your Journey Towards Success. So go ahead and try that out. And then if you really like it, you can even consider going to my Patreon page. That's patreon.com, where you actually get rewards for joining through that portal. All right, so just go ahead and consider that. So this concludes my podcast show today. I hope you enjoyed this broadcast. Please, again, follow me on social media. Again, my website, nichelanderson.com. I'm on Twitter, Twitter.com/Nichel Anderson, and Facebook.com/Nichel Anderson fan page. So I want to go ahead and leave you with my motivational takeaway for you, continue for your encouragement, and that is be you that strengthens and inspires your ability to be strong in your journey endeavor. It's a good thing towards your mental peace and joy, always to your success.